Hi everyone! Today a bit unusual because today we are streaming through our YouTube channel where you can find more videos that we did so far, which are immense source of information. I would love to say hello to everyone who is watching us today. This is a coffee break session with Martina, which is me. And I obviously have traditionally my coffee. And I hope I'm not gonna break another glass because I think my partner will just evict me after breaking almost all of our coffee glasses. And luckily, nothing of that happened during our coffee session yet. So I am traditionally terrible when it comes to breaking things. And yes, I know it's not related to our coffee break sessions necessarily. However, this is supposed to be a loose conversation with you guys, and I love to know where you guys are from, where you are watching us from, because this is very important for us. Today's coffee break session will be quite unique, as I would like to say that today we are basing our session on the article that was published last year in Elsevier journal. The article was written by Professor Jose Torralba from Spain, and the article is titled "The 10 Rules to Survive the Marvelous but Sinister World of Academia." And I did include the description in the description of this video, the link to this article, so you can read it for yourself. However, I found this article to be super insightful when it comes to academic world, and actually a bit humorous as well. So let's dive into it because it's 10 o'clock. So as I mentioned, this is a coffee break session, 10 o'clock, 10 to 10:15, every Tuesday. And traditionally, I have my coffee with me. And as I mentioned, I'm gonna try not to break this cup. I promise. So, why I chose this particular article today to discuss with you is because a lot of us are first generation of the families at the universities. And why I'm saying it is, even for myself, I'm not the first generation because there were people in my family who also attended university, but they graduated earlier than PhD. So not everyone in my family. I'm the first one who did a PhD, and I know for a fact that in South African situation, it might be just that you're the first one in the whole family that ever went to the university, and that's a marvelous and epic thing for your family, and greatly I would like to congratulate you and your parents for supporting your journey. But obviously, because you are first generation at the university, you might need more help, just simply because your parents don't know what it is about this journey that might make it great and terrible at the same time. So I think that this is very important topic that we should talk about. I personally experienced even the fact that my family was at the university, like my mom, she studied, let's say, 20 years ago, and at completely different university, so she will not be up to date with all the things that are happening, especially that back then, let's say, they didn't have Google, so now there is Google, so they are saying like, oh my god, you have it so much more easy. But it's not, because access to a wealth of information might make your studies much more difficult, because you really need to know how to sift through all the sources that are available and find yourself in this space. And at the same time, because you're entering this world of people who are already very qualified, and maybe they are not the first generation at the university, you might be simply lost. And that's why we are here. So that's why Science Bridge is created to help you with this journey. We have multiple services that can assist you with the journey when it comes to going through the university. Those are our coaching services by professional coaches, but we also offer the career journey experience. That's our other type of offering, and we want to network you with the adequate companies. But let's dive into the topic here today, which was based on the article by Professor Jose Traleba from Madrid University. And no matter that he's from University in Madrid, it's still applicable anywhere else in the world. So number one that Professor is saying is that your scientific journey should be based on vocation. What he means by this is that when we are studying at the university, a lot of things might not go our way, but the most important thing is our why. And this is not only this professor that it's referring to your why. The why is important anywhere you're going. So whether you are embarking on the career journey or you are starting the university, you're starting a new project, you need to know why you're doing it. And this calling, the bigger calling, will give you more motivation through the difficult times. So it's easy to say that I'm studying it and everything is coming easily to me. But what happens when the things are not going your way? What happens when your experiments don't go your way? And I'll give you the guarantee that it's not gonna go your way when you're studying science. Sooner or later, you're gonna come across things like, I failed my experiments, I failed an exam, I struggled with personal difficulties, and that contributed to me performing less okay. And that happens. And because of that, you need to have very, very strong calling for this to know why you're studying it. And as I mentioned, especially if you're a first generation student, it's going to be much more difficult sometimes to explain to your family as well. So you need to have that internal motivation why you're studying, why you're continuing to studying, because sometimes your family might not understand why you're taking yet another degree like PhD. And if academic pursuit is what you want, you need to have the PhD under your belt. So the calling is a very first thing that you have to keep in mind and keep it strong, and that fire has to burn all the time in you. Then you need to learn about your system. The system of the academia, it's been fluctuating and changing. So the institution of the university has been there for generations. And we have very old universities that were created in Europe. We have old universities that were created in South Africa. And the thing is, they are still kind of functioning in a very similar way. However, things are slowly changing and progressing, considering, for instance, the fact that not everybody who's entering academia will be able to take their journey all the way to professorship. So universities are changing, the university structures are fluctuating, and you have to realize that there are things like research groups, that from those research groups you have principal investigator who is on the top of the hierarchy in the research group. Even though you have a lab manager who is not going to be the same person as the principal investigator. The principal investigator will either be a tenured professor or will be an associated professor, but will be already a person with plenty of experience, plenty of publication under their belt. So you need to be aware of that. And the best thing to make your journey actually pleasant in academic environment is to find what is happening in each research group by researching this research group as if you would be applying for a job. you need to treat your journey as applications for jobs. So maybe you want to network with people in the group to know how things are going, if the group is developing, if your professor, future employer basically, has money to run this group, or if the group will run into difficulties very time soon, or if he is micromanaging, or if he's giving you a free hand to do your experiments, if he's interested in working the lab or he is not. If he is there most of the time in the lab, or at least in his office, or if he's constantly traveling and nowhere to be found. You have to know those things before you decide on a particular research group. Now, that leads us to ecosystem that the author of the article was talking about. And the ecosystem will be everybody in the lab. So labs might have the lab managers that I already mentioned, might have research assistants, but not necessarily. Everyone will have different duties in the lab. At the same time, you might find that the lab consists of many difficult people. So that takes us to the point 4, avoid predators, parasites, and other bad people. So you need to find out where you are and where you are heading to when you are accepting a position in certain lab. I'm not going to dive into this at this stage because we have a lot of time constraints for this session. It's only a 15-minute session. But I would really encourage you to dig deep into the structures of the lab that you're planning to go for. Then you have things like trying to find a good mentor. And mentor does not necessarily have to be your principal investigator, so your PI. It doesn't have to be your supervisor. It actually can be a person outside of your lab. And it's not a structured thing to have a mentor, but it's a very advisable thing to have, because mentors are people who can guide you through difficult situations, and they should be impartial towards your work. So they don't have anything at stake for them. And they still might be willing to do that. You have universities like University of Cape Town that has mentorship program. They are trying to develop it at Faculty of Health Sciences, where basically senior scientists will be willing to devote their time to students to help them through the journey. Then, obviously, when you're in data, you have to ask. That's point 6. So always ask whether it's about your career, whether it's about your experiments. You have to have this investigator mind and have to be aware that you're not going to know all of it, and no one knows all of it. Your professor doesn't know all of it. The beauty of being in academia is that your professor can learn from you because you're up to date with all the literature. So you are staying on top of your project, and your professor might be asking about certain things, and that's what you also should be doing. So if your experiment is not working, go to people around you, find out more. Maybe they have some tricks that they can use to help you with optimizing the method that you're working with. It is okay to ask, and it is okay to admit that you don't know, because people really, that's the part of the growth, people really don't know everything. And sometimes you have to leave to return. Yes, unfortunately, the burnout has been something that Nature Career has been strongly writing about. And burnout can happen. It can happen for many reasons. One of them is a toxic lab environment, or lack of funding and constant chase to publish or perish. It can be exhausting. Sometimes simply you are gonna go for exchange to different lab, and you're gonna learn different ways. That's also leaving and coming back to the lab and seeing if this is what you want to do, and if this is the lab you want to stay in. So sometimes it is okay to take a break and try something different to see that this was your calling. And that takes us back to the point 1, keeping your why, keeping your fire burning. Sometimes it just needs, a breath of colder air to keep on going. The next point is don't get discouraged. Your career, your journey as a scientist, it is a lifelong process. So in our first session, I was talking about when you become a scientist, and there is nothing like cheating to leave academic world. It doesn't exist. It's not cheating. And the same goes with not being discouraged. If some things don't work out in your lab, you need to take a breath, you need to drink some coffee, and you need to realize that it is a lifelong race. So just take a break and reboot and start again. And if you need help, reach out to your peers, reach out even to your family who might not necessarily understand the academic journey, or reach out to us. We are here for you, and we are happy to give you some encouragement and guidance and coaching for survival in the lab. Next, you have to know how to be in the right place in the right time, which means that because when we are in academic setup, we might come across different people. And the best thing for that are networking sessions that your lab might create, or not necessarily the lab, but your faculty. Try to join those sessions, despite the fact that you might think that you're crazy busy with your experiments. And try to participate in them and listen to people, what they are saying. Maybe they will have opportunity that you might want to grab. Maybe it's going to be in different lab for your next internship. You never know. And that might keep you inspired and active in your field. Sometimes it's going to be going for an internship, and sometimes it's going to be going to assist someone else in their project, and because of that you're going to have some inspiration for your own project. And lastly, you should work. There is a thing about publish and perish in academic environment, and unfortunately it's true. So to be able to publish in academic environment, it often requires a lot of work to be put in your project. But it's not only work. So I personally don't like this point, because I think that to keep us alive and to keep us going, we need to avoid burnout. And to avoid burnout, we need to take a break between all those work periods. So that's what I would want to leave you with. As I mentioned, this is not only for established scientists, but it's also for first generation scientists and first generation family members that are on the academic journey and might not know that you are struggling with certain things. So remember to reach out to people around you, reach out to us, so that you're not gonna get discouraged from this journey, because this journey is beautiful. It's not easy, but yes, I believe that you can be a great scientist, and reach out to us through our email address info@sciencebridge.co.za. If you have any questions about the academic journey, we are here to help you. Have a great day.